there are some aspects of like being a woman that are biological, like giving birth or having periods, but I'm of the belief that like having periods and giving birth isn't what makes a woman a woman. It's not what defines that. I think there's a lot more to being a woman than just that. And like I said, I go out in society and people treat me the same because, I pass. People don't see me as a man, obviously. So I share a lot of experiences that I do with like cis women because of the way that people have treated me, for almost a decade now.
But what if you didn't pass? Like, what
If
if
I
you
didn't,
really, yeah, you really thought you were a woman, or yeah, you really thought you were a woman and you but were born in a male body and you did all of the same things, like you went through the hormone therapy and everything, but you just appeared like a man, like many people do.
um, I mean, see, in my opinion, that's the reason why I think people should be allowed to transition younger. Because when it comes to like male to female, that's something where if you're like, once you get hit by male puberty, you're kind of screwed. Like you can't really reverse that. And a lot of people are left in unfortunate situations. So if you're not able to like educate people into what this is and you can't catch this stuff early, that's where you get situations where somebody transitions when they're like 40 years old with like a wife and two kids. And I don't think that's something that anybody wants to see. So, I mean, if we can avoid that, that's great. I could say with those people, I can only speak for myself because, I know my experience. Those people probably have a lot of, their life probably isn't going very great for them. And, I
Those
feel
people are
bad
the
for them.
people who later in life.
Yeah, people who aren't able to pass because, they've already went through male puberty and everything.
Well, but the people, okay, here's my issue. If you transition too soon, right? If you transition prepubescent, then you won't be able to have kids. Doesn't that ruin
Yeah,
your ability to ever have children? And so then and then furthermore, you have people like Jazz. I don't know if you know this, but Jazz was put on hormone blockers at an early age and never developed a full sized genital,
yeah, yeah,
and where they weren't able to do the surgery, which requires all of the skin from the fully developed genital region
yeah.
in order to complete the surgery. So you're having a lot, and then also you have a lot of issues with, like, as you said earlier, your tweets. You were tweeting at 17 and you made a lot of silly, dumb decisions that you regret. So how can you say someone prior to puberty would be able to make these life altering decisions?
I think you bring us interesting points. I will say this. When I came out at 14 years old and I was taking like estrogen and blockers, people did have this conversation with me. I did talk to like specialists and people, and they were like, okay, we have this option for you to like preserve stuff in order for you to like potentially have kids down the line. And I basically said no because if I wasn't having kids as like a biological woman, I didn't want to have kids. So I was just okay with the fact that I'm just not gonna like have biological kids. It's not like the end of the road. Like it kind of sucks, but it's like I can adopt if I want kids later in life. There's a lot of kids who need like homes and stuff. So it's like, I'm not gonna be super sad about that. I understand it's like a lot to ask a 14-year-old, like, hey, here's your one chance of ever having children. Do you wanna do it? And obviously at that age, you don't know how to respond to that. You don't know like the full weight of that. So I can understand. I guess my counter to that would be like what's the alternative to that is like a person who is really suffering because of their gender identity and has to basically exist in a world where everybody sees them as somebody that they're not. They're going to be constantly miserable, have this huge identity crisis. Like, protecting kids by like making them not transition tends to lead to really bad mental health outcomes. And it tends to lead to like, I think if people see us in a way that's so different to how we see ourselves, if people view us an entirely different gender and treat us to entirely different social norms and expectations, I just don't think that's a good thing to put on a child. So I tend to think that that's like the worst outcome, if you get what I'm saying.
I, I do, and I understand where you're coming from, even if we're not, in agreement. I understand.